the third. Hello everyone, this is David Ha'ivri. Welcome to this live streaming event from the center of Jerusalem. I am so glad that you are with me now here in Jerusalem. In just one moment, I am going to flip over the camera to the front camera so you can see what I'm seeing around me. I'll introduce myself. I am David Ha'ivri. I am an Israel tour guide. I'm a licensed tour guide in Israel. I guide anywhere throughout the country. I love guiding in Jerusalem. This is my home base. And today we are going to be taking a walk in the center of Jerusalem. Right now we are at Safra Square, which is the City Hall complex. So we will take a walk around Safra, see what's going on, and then we will head down towards the old city of Jerusalem. Do feel free to write any messages. I hope that I will notice them and respond to any questions that you have. If I miss anything, I apologize ahead of time. And if you feel that you asked something and you didn't get a good answer, then ask again. Sometimes I might answer part of a question and ramble away and miss another part. So you can ask again. Just let me know. So welcome to this live stream. I hope that you enjoy this and that you subscribe to my channel and share this with your friends. That would be wonderful. Just a second. Hello, Pauline. Greetings from London. Thank you. Welcome. No worries, Pauline. I was glad to see that 3 times. Beverly, hello, welcome. Juliet in Vermont. Wonderful to have you all here. Now we're going to flip around. Aviva, welcome. Natanya, hello from Natanya. Anya, thank you for following. Ruth, welcome. Welcome, Vancouver. So we're facing part of Jaffa Street. We'll see a lot of Jaffa Street in this area. But first I'm going to span around. We'll come back to Jaffa Street later. We are now in the park. We are in the park that is alongside the Safra Square, the historical buildings behind us, or behind the park. You can see some historical buildings. They are restored. Older buildings, they're not ancient, they're from the 19th century, and they have been incorporated into the City Hall complex. The City Hall is partially newer modern buildings, like the one right ahead of that's the main building. It's part of the main building over there. Hi, Joanne. Thank you for following. So this is a neat park alongside the City Hall. That is between the City Hall and Jaffa Street. You can just visit here, whether you are a City Hall employee, a resident of Jerusalem, or a visitor. You can enjoy the trees here. A lot of the trees, not only do they provide shade and beauty, but it's also like a live museum. There are signs under a lot of these trees that describe what the tree is, what type of tree it is, and what its history is, or what its scientific name and name in Hebrew. This is a berry tree. And here you see this huge transistor radio that actually plays music during the day. You can come change the channels, and a lot of people like to get their photos in Jerusalem standing next to this huge transistor and check out changing the channels. But it only operates during daytime hours in order not to disturb the surroundings. This is not really a residential neighborhood. I don't think that there are any homes in the buildings around us. This is an historic building too. The lower floor is a commercial, and the 2 floors above are offices. Further down the street on Jaffa, there is the main post office, and part of the building has been turned into a hotel. That's a little distant as well. You can see this waterfall here that in some ways it remembers an ancient waterwork that passed by the street hundreds of years ago. Check out in front of us. You see these men sitting around a little grand piano. This is a special feature in Jerusalem. The municipality has placed cement pianos. The case is really made out of concrete, but it's a real piano, and it's open to the public. Many people come and take turns practicing or playing the piano, and sometimes they bring additional musical instruments. Check out the light train. The light train in Jerusalem is a part of our public transportation system. Currently we have one line for the light train going from north to south. This is in the center of Jerusalem. It goes along Jaffa Street, which is east to west. So the train here is facing east, but this is the last station on Jaffa Street. Just ahead, after he finishes letting people off and collecting new people, he will reach the intersection ahead of us and turn off to the north. He's going to turn left to the north. And we'll probably see the trains turning there. Now, do you hear the music? And you see these black fences. The Safra Square, the main square of the Jerusalem municipal offices, has a big stage in the middle. And this evening there's going to be a concert there with multiple Israeli musicians. Mali and I, Mali is my partner, we bought tickets. Sometimes there are concerts here that are open to the public for no charge at all, and sometimes there are events, are paid events. So we bought tickets for this evening's event. They open up at 8 o'clock in the evening, and the actual concert will start at 9 o'clock. You can see the plastic chairs that have been set up in the square. There are probably about 3,000 chairs. And on display on the walls around the City Hall Square, there are different displays. This is a display of prime ministers and presidents of Israel throughout history. I am not sure if you can hear me well, because the music is very loud. I'm hearing the music, and I am going to distance us from the concert area. Now here there is a model of the entire City Hall complex. It's called the Safra Square. See? Behind us is the Safra Square, and on this table is a model of the entire City Hall complex with the historical buildings that have been restored and the major main building. And here you can see the center area is where the concert is taking place. And at the back of the square you can see the main stage. Now, this train coming towards us is heading west. It's going to head west all along Jaffa Road, and at the end of Jaffa Road, it's going to turn north again. And we are headed east on Jaffa Road towards the old city of Jerusalem. I want to thank you all for joining me for this live streaming event from Jerusalem. If you have not yet followed me, you are welcome to do so. Here in these bus stops or train stops, we're on the train line on Jaffa Street. Jaffa Street, since the train was established here about 15 years ago, Jaffa Street has been closed off for regular traffic. So it's a pedestrian walkway now. At one time, before the train was here, it was the main road of Jerusalem. I'll try to speak about that some more later. But now, cars and buses do not pass on this road. It's just the train and emergency vehicles. So we might see an ambulance or a police car or city maintenance vehicle on this road, but no regular traffic is allowed. And even these electric bicycles are officially not allowed on the road. So these people are riding here in spite of it being illegal, and they could get a fine. I've seen police on scooters pull people over and give them fines for riding bicycles here. Not only electrical bikes, even regular bikes. This road is not allowed. Now in the bus stops here, there is a gallery that was placed here recently, and the theme of the gallery is the homeless people who live in the street of Jerusalem. So we'll take a look here, and then we will hop over to the next stop and see some more of those photos and talk about them. Now, if you asked or you were interested, how do we pay for the public transportation using the train or the bus system in Jerusalem? Up until, I don't know, about a year ago, the payment system was either with these plastic cards that we could refill in these machines. You see a card like that, it's called Rav-Kav, multiple payment system. So you would get a card and you could pay with your credit card in these fill-up machines. And in the station itself, there are payment boxes that are computerized. You could pay, you could buy a one-time pass, like a paper card, or you could fill up your plastic card. But now we have an even more convenient system, paying with an app. One of the popular apps, the one that I use, is called Move It, which is also a public transportation navigation system. So I can fill in, I want to go to Mount Herzl, for instance, and Move It will give me the best combination of public transportation to use to get to Mount Herzl from here. Or I could say I want to go to Mount Herzl from here at 7 o'clock in the morning, or figure out I want to go from one place to another, and it will let me know how to do that. But then I can also use the Move It to scan a barcode and pay for my public transportation when I hop on the train or the bus. Now here are some more of the photos of the gallery that is currently being displayed here. The theme of this gallery is street homeless people who live in the street. And here we can see this person, we can see the hand. This person is sleeping on a blanket in the street. And here is another person sleeping on a bench. And of course, the objective of this gallery is to bring awareness to the people who are living in the street. There are not a huge amount of people in Jerusalem who are living in the street, but it is an existing phenomenon. So the artists, the photographers who did these photos wanted to bring attention to that phenomenon. And some of the photos all of them are artistic, but some of them are really clever in what they've captured. So say this photo, take a look at this. I'll come closer. You can see a person sleeping on the bench, and behind them you can see those electric boxes, and there's some graffiti written on the boxes. The graffiti says Lihit Orer, which means wake up. And I don't imagine that the person who wrote the graffiti was speaking with the person who was sleeping on the bench, but the photographer was quick to pick up on that wording and somehow get the angle so we could include it in the message of the photo and the display. Ruth asked, do I know how many homeless there are in Jerusalem? I do not know. The text here speaks about that. It speaks about this display was done together with a non-for-profit organization and the municipality who work together in order to help the people who live on the street. And there are some things that are going on to help them in different levels. But in general, the photographers wanted to bring attention to this phenomenon. So I'm guessing that there are not hundreds of people living in the street. Maybe there are tens in Jerusalem. Maybe, I'm assuming, maybe there are 30. But I really don't have the statistics, so I can't tell you for sure. But thank you for asking, Ruth. And all of the participants, everyone who's here, feel free to ask any questions. And I hope that I will be able to provide some useful information. Here's another photo. Across the street, you can see a change place. There are a lot of businesses that provide change service in Jerusalem and in Israel in general as a service for tourism. These are businesses. You can wire the Western Union or other platforms, or you can change your foreign currency. And it says no commission. They're making something. It might be the exchange rate, or you can ask them. They're very straightforward, and they're monitored by the government. And next to that, there's a Kofix. Kofix is a low-cost coffee place, a set price, and they're pretty popular. But there are a lot of different options in Jerusalem for coffee and food, and there are endless options here in the city. Here's a street performer. We're going to see a lot of clergy and men and women of faith of the cloth. Here's this. This is the last one. The last photos of the homeless gallery that we're going to see. That's one. And this one again, the photographer wisely got a photo of this person lying in the street on a cardboard box, homeless person reading the newspaper, and ironically the headline on that paper, it says Po B'Shvil Yeladim, which means I'm here for the children. Of course, it was a coincidence that the photographer got this wording in the photo, but it's pretty interesting. Let's try to get an angle where we can see this street performer. Here this train is coming from the east going west. I'm going to give this fellow a tip. There's music everywhere. I hope that we'll see some more on the way. We are headed towards the Jaffa gate of the old city of Jerusalem. Here is another street gallery. This is actually historical information telling us about the places that we are walking by now. We can see these historical photos of the neighborhood all destroyed. It's the neighborhood ahead of us that we're going to pass by now. Here we can see, if you recognize the wall and the tower, might give you some bearings of where we are. We'll be headed towards that wall in just a moment. It is the Ottoman walls of the old city of Jerusalem. And here again we see some broken down buildings, and here it says the border ahead. And here you can actually see a border wall. Do you see this neighborhood? And do you see the wall in the middle of the street? In 1948, the state of Israel was established, and the army of Jordan crossed over the Jordan River, invaded the land of Israel, and took control of the area they considered the West Bank and of most of Jerusalem. And there was a wall placed in the middle of Jerusalem, in the middle of the city. Part of the city was controlled by Israel, and part of the city was controlled by Jordan. Between 1948 and 1967. In 1967, the Six-Day War, Israel took back the city of Jerusalem, united the city. So here we see historical photos, and they're not placed here by chance. They're placed here because we are right on the edge of the historical border between the two countries. Where I am standing now is part of West Jerusalem that was under the control of Israel after Israel's War of Independence in 1948. But just ahead of us, there was the border, and the Jordanians were on the other side of the border. Exactly where the train is turning was the border. That was the city lines, with Israel on this side, on the western side, and Jordan on to the east. We're crossing over the train tracks on Jaffa Street, and we're headed to cross over the street that was the border between Israel and Jordan. We're facing the Ottoman walls of the old city of Jerusalem. We can see the clock tower, the bell tower of San Salvatore, inside the Christian quarter of the old city of Jerusalem, inside the new gate. On today's tour, we're going to walk straight down towards the Jaffa gate. I will give another tour on another day. I'll post that on my page, a tour of the Christian quarter in the old city of Jerusalem. Often I ask my guests if they can guess how many gates there are in the walls, the Ottoman walls of the old city of Jerusalem. And I get all kinds of numbers. You can feel free to throw in some numbers as well. How many gates do you think there are in the walls of the old city of Jerusalem? Robin, do you really know that it's 7? Did you look it up in Wikipedia? Because you are right. Robin is right. Beta, thank you for 3. 3 is an interesting guess, but it's not. It's not. There are. Robin's been to Jerusalem. All right. Good. 7 is correct, but the truth is that it's not precise, and almost any correct answer that we give might not be precise. I can give you answers that are correct, and then people can challenge them and say, "Oh, but I know a different answer to many different questions regarding Jerusalem and the land of Israel and the Middle East." So there are 7 gates in the walls of the old city of Jerusalem. These walls, by the way, go all around the old city of Jerusalem. Here, the train is facing north now. You see the train? The train has stopped at the traffic light because we're in the middle of a very busy intersection. And here at this intersection, it's called the IDF Square, Kekar Tzahal. The train is turning. You see a 90-degree turn. It's turning to the west. This is the beginning of Jaffa Road. You could say at this point it's the beginning. There's another beginning at Jaffa Gate as well, further down the road. But at this point, the train turns to the west, goes all along Jaffa Road, all the way to the central bus station, and at that point it turns north again and goes to Mount Herzl. The train is now being expanded. There is one line now. There are additional lines that are being built as we talk, and this line is being extended all the way to the Hadassah Ein Kerem hospital. We're going to get a look at this map posted here by the municipality and the Ministry of Tourism, a map of the old city of Jerusalem. Here you can see the black line around the old city. It's kind of like a rectangle. You could say that black line all around indicates the wall that we see here. Now I'm going to ask another question. Can you guess how old this wall is? The wall goes all around the old city of Jerusalem. We are on the northwestern corner of the old city of Jerusalem. Here you can see the yellow circle. You can see this indicates where we are. We're outside of the walls of the old city. In the northwestern corner. And now we are going to walk to the Jaffa gate. Different layers from different times. That's good, Robin. That's good. Actually, this wall was built by the Ottomans, by the emperor of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans controlled the land of Israel for about 400 years. And the emperor 500 years ago was called Suleiman the Magnificent. Suleiman had this calling to build a wall around the old city of Jerusalem, even though Jerusalem was not of great importance at that time. He had a dream or an inspiration, a calling to build a wall around the old city. There had been different walls. The city had been walled at different periods in time. So that is correct. Robin is correct that there were different walls. Some of the historical walls were on similar paths to this wall. And in some places, there are ancient walls underneath this particular wall. In the Pauline, the 16th century is correct. The 16th century. The Ottomans took control of Jerusalem in 1517. And by 1540, they had completed building this wall around the old city of Jerusalem. I asked earlier how many gates there are, and Robin said there are 7. There are 7, and I said that is correct, but it's also not precise, because you could also say that there are 9 gates to the old city of Jerusalem. There are 2 smaller openings on the southern side, one in the Davison archaeological site, and one just to the west of the Dung Gate. So there are 2 additional openings today. And at different times in history, there were different gates. Maybe not in this wall. In other walls that stood here, there were different gates at different locations. And of course, there is the Golden Gate, the Gate of Mercy, on the eastern side of the old city of Jerusalem. The Gate of Mercy, the Golden Gate, which is closed. There's a wall built in the gate, and there is no passage, and that has been closed for hundreds of years at least. Now we're facing the Jaffa Gate. We were on Jaffa Road. You could say that we're still on Jaffa Road, and we're facing Jaffa Gate. Do you know what Jaffa is? Jaffa is the name of a port city. It's an ancient port city on the Mediterranean, on the eastern side, the eastern part of the Mediterranean, or on the western coast of Israel. Jaffa. Wonderful, Joanne. I'm glad that you've been to Jaffa, and hopefully I'll take you to Jaffa too sometime. I don't know when that will be, but for now I'm doing more tours in Jerusalem. I'll be doing more tours in Jerusalem, and when I can, I'll do tours at other places as well. I'm glad that you've been to Jaffa. Jaffa is a very beautiful city. The city of Tel Aviv grew out of Jaffa, and today the cities are combined. The official name of Tel Aviv is Tel Aviv Jaffa. Tel Aviv Jaffa. Jaffa today is a neighborhood of Tel Aviv, but when Tel Aviv was originally founded, it was a neighborhood of Jaffa. In any case, getting back to my question, we're facing the Jaffa gate, and we're walking on Jaffa Road. And the reason that this is called Jaffa Gate and Jaffa Road is that this gate on the western side of the city of Jerusalem faces the west, faces the city of Jaffa. This is the road that was used to reach Jerusalem, and this is the gate that was used to enter Jerusalem for those who were coming through from Jaffa. There is an even greater, bigger, more magnificent gate on the northern side of the old city of Jerusalem. It is called in English it is known as the Damascus Gate. In Hebrew it's known as the Shechem Gate, which means the Nablus Gate. And in Arabic it has a different name. It's named the Gate of the Pillar, Bab el-Amud. It's very common in the city of Jerusalem, in the old city of Jerusalem, to have different names. You'll notice that all of our street signs. Mo, can you explain why all the dark black garb? So there, we'll see a lot of people of cloth, people of faith, of religion, some clergy, some religious people, of different denominations and of different religions. The three major religions in Jerusalem are Jews, Christians, and Muslims. And in each one of those groups, there are a traditional dress. And many of them have traditional dress that is all black. A lot of the men that we see ahead of us with the black suits and hats are Jewish religious men, and in some groups within the Jewish religious community, that is their traditional dress. We'll also probably see members of other religious groups that also dress in black, but the style of their clothing will probably be a little different if we look closely. Thank you for asking that question, Mo. If anyone else asked any questions and I missed them, please ask again. I'll be glad to try to answer best I can. We are at the Jaffa Gate Plaza. We're outside of the Jaffa Gate, facing the Jaffa Gate. Let's try to see the height of this gate. So I mentioned earlier that the walls of the old city of Jerusalem were built about 500 years ago. The Ottoman Turks controlled the city of Jerusalem from 1517 up until the Ottomans lost their control of the city of Jerusalem. Feel free to write any comments. If anyone knows when the Ottomans lost their control of the city of Jerusalem, when they lost it and who they lost it to. Who conquered Jerusalem from the Ottomans? It was the British. The British in World War I, 1917, took control of the Holy Land from the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire was pretty weak at that time. They had controlled this area. And most of what is considered the Middle East today was part of the Ottoman Empire for many, many years. The British took over the southern part, the French took over the northern part. Turkey was left from the Ottoman Empire, became what is known as Turkey today. This tour gives a view of the city that I long to see, and you have shown interesting areas. The brief history is also helpful. Ruth, thank you for your input. I am really glad that you are enjoying this. Just a second, I'll flip over and say hello again. I'm really glad that you're enjoying this. Brenda, is it safe for tourists in Israel and Jerusalem this time, in these days? I would say yes. Brenda, I encourage you to visit Israel and Jerusalem. You can feel free to contact me for tips, tips to Israel. As I mentioned earlier, I am a licensed tour guide. I guide throughout Israel, and I'm glad that you are all with me on this Hago tour. Hopefully we'll be doing more of this and seeing more of Jerusalem. I'm really glad that you're with me and that you're enjoying. Everyone, if you have not yet followed, please feel free to do so. I'd love to see you on future tours. We're going to walk through the Jaffa Gate. We're going to walk through the Jaffa Gate. Now notice that there are huge doors. There are these huge gray doors on either side of the gate. See those doors? Up until the end of the 19th century, these doors were closed at night. People who lived in Jerusalem and understand that up until the 1860s, Jerusalem was only inside the walls of the Old City. What we call the Old City today, up until 1860, was all of Jerusalem. Everything was inside these gates. In 1860, in the mid-19th century, residents of Jerusalem started building new neighborhoods outside of Jerusalem, and it was not an easy deed convincing people to leave the walls of the Old City. People were literally afraid to be outside of the walls. They were afraid of bandits and wild animals, and this was their protection, being inside the walls. And the walls were closed at night. Now we've walked into the gate. There is an historical photo here that I'd like to give you a look at. You see this photo? What do you call it when you take stills on the Hago? Is it a postcard? Why don't you take a still of this photo? But notice that the Jaffa Gate that we just walked through, this is about 110 years ago. If you notice, there are buildings. Built up against the wall. And if you see here, there is a clock tower on top of the wall. Now I'm going to step out of the gate again for a moment so you can get a still of that, get some postcards of what it looks like today, because those buildings are not here anymore. And that's a really interesting issue, that all of those historical buildings have disappeared. They're not here anymore. Remember, I mentioned that Jerusalem was conquered by the British in World War I in 1917. The British took control of Jerusalem. The British were Christians, and they felt that the holy city should be preserved, and the beauty of the city should be preserved. Now, although these walls were built by these same Ottomans, the British felt that those buildings that were built up against the wall. I'm going to step back a bit to get you a better postcard. Here you can get a postcard of the Jaffa Gate. But notice, if you compare the photo that I showed you inside with the photo that you're looking at now, there are no buildings built up against the wall. There's no clock tower. Following the British conquest of the city of Jerusalem, the British took down all of those buildings. The clock tower that was on top of the Jaffa Gate was built in honor of the emperor of the Ottoman Empire at that time. His name was Abd al-Hamid II, and in honor of 25 years of his monarchy, he built over 100 clock towers at all different locations throughout the Ottoman Empire. This one was taken down by the British because they wanted to preserve the beauty of the walls of the old city of Jerusalem. But there are other clock towers that still exist. Ruth, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Thank you. The clock towers. There are clock towers in Jaffa. Exactly, Robin. You are correct, 100%. There is a clock tower in Jaffa. There is one in Haifa. There is one in Akko, and they are all. Beverly, thank you for that tip. I appreciate that so much. There are clock towers from that same series. There are over 100 clock towers that were built in the Ottoman Empire area, and some of them that were built in the land of Israel exist to this day, and we can visit them. Aviva, thank you for that tip. I appreciate that. Do you see this golf cart? Inside, we're going to enter the old city of Jerusalem, and we will see that inside the old city, the streets are very narrow. The old city of Jerusalem is built on two hills. So walking through the old city, in many places, we're walking up and down a hill. The streets go up and down a hill, and in some places there are many stairs as well. So there are businesses that provide transportation using these golf carts inside the old city. Typically here we can see another one at the Jaffa Gate Plaza. Typically we can find owners of these golf carts waiting for customers and people who would rather not walk from here to their destination in the old city, which could be the Western Wall, or could be the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, or other churches, or other sites, or the market in the old city. Anyway, they could get a ride, a paid ride, of course, on these golf carts. And inside the walls of the old city, we've just entered the old city. Inside the old city, there are, inside the old city, we can see there are taxi services. There are a couple of roads that are accessible to vehicles, but all of these roads inside the old city are closed off to regular population of drivers. They're only allowed to public transportation, like taxis. These white cars with the yellow sign on top are taxis. Private vehicles of people who actually live in this neighborhood, and police vehicles or emergency vehicles, and businesses that receive permission to enter with their vehicles to deliver their goods. But what we will notice often in the old city are other types of vehicles, smaller vehicles that are used to move around merchandise and building material and garbage disposal. Aaron, thank you so much for that tip. I greatly appreciate that. We are inside the Jaffa Gate. I mentioned earlier that many of the locations in the old city of Jerusalem have three different names. They have a name in Hebrew, a name in Arabic, and a name in English. And those three names in many of the locations might not be identical. They might not be exact translations, and rather they might have particular significance in the traditions and culture and heritage of people of those same languages. So, for instance, we spoke much about the Jaffa Gate being called the Jaffa Gate because it faces the west, it faces Jaffa. So in English it's called the Jaffa Gate. You can get a postcard if you would like. Robin, thank you for the tip. Thank you so much. We're facing the Jaffa Gate from the inside. In English, it's called the Jaffa Gate. In Hebrew, it's called Shar Yafo. And in Arabic, it's called Bab el-Khalil, which means the Hebron Gate. And the reason that it's called the Hebron Gate, Hebron is the burial place of our father Abraham, the father of the nation of Israel and also the father of the nation of Islam, is buried in Hebron. Hebron is south of the city of Jerusalem, and there is a road from this gate that faces west to Jaffa, but there's also another road that faces south to Hebron. So in English and Hebrew, it is called the Jaffa Gate, but in Arabic, it's called the Hebron Gate, Bab el-Khalil. Yeah, is that a pretzel stall stand? Those are called begale. Begale is a type of bread. It's a type of bread. It's not exactly a pretzel. It's more of a bagel, like a bagel. It's a local Arabic type of bagel. So that's one of my daughters that was in charge of handing out permits to drive. Aviva, you are well connected. If you have a connection with those people who give out the permits, that's a very, very influential position. Everyone, thank you for joining and being with me on this tour of Jerusalem. We are inside the old city of Jerusalem. We entered the Jaffa gate. I am David Ha'ivri. I'm an Israel tour guide. If you have not yet followed, you're welcome to follow. We're looking at a map of the old city of Jerusalem. This is a more detailed map that is stationed on the wall inside the Jaffa gate. We're going to zoom in to see where we are. Here you can see the yellow dot. We're inside the Jaffa gate. Just south of us, there's the Tower of David Museum, which is the fortress and palace that was built by the Hasmonean kings and then magnified by Herod the Great. Next to that, we can see the Armenian quarter and then the Jewish quarter. These are on the south, southwest, southeast, northeast, the Muslim quarter, northwest, Christian quarter, and to the east we can see the Temple Mount, El Harim al-Sharif, the Temple Mount, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the Dome of the Rock. And around the city we can see the walls of the old city of Jerusalem. We will walk a little further into the old city, see some of the souvenir shops. This road is very popular for tourists visiting Jerusalem. Jews, Christians, Muslims, people from Israel and from abroad. So there are many shops here and restaurants that are aimed for those tourists, for souvenirs that people might want to be buying. There are many information centers. We passed by the municipal Ministry of Tourism official tourist information center, but there are other institutions that also provide information for tourists. Ahead of us, you see on the building in front, there is the flag of Sweden. On the rooftops in the city of Jerusalem, we might notice flags of many nationalities and many churches. This building is the Swedish Christian Information Center. And the next building over is the Christian Information Center, which is a Franciscan. Yes, thank you. Thank you. That was very kind of that fellow passed by. I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss that. When and where did you move from when you moved to Israel? Thank you, Robert. Robert, I was born in the United States. I came to Israel when I was a child. My family made Aliyah, which is a term used to describe Jewish people who moved to live in Israel. In Hebrew, we use the expression Aliyah, which means an ascent, because in our heritage we believe that Israel is a higher place. And when I was a child, my family moved to Israel, which was many, many years ago. So I was born in the United States. That's where I have the base of my English, and I've lived in Israel more of my life. Thank you for asking. So we have the Christian Information Center next door. That building was originally built by the Austrians in the 19th century. During the Ottoman Empire, there were different governments that provided postal services. The Austrian postal service was considered to be the most efficient and most reliable. So this building was originally built by the Austrians. If we go closer, we can see the sign in German that tells the story of the Austrian postal service that existed here in the 19th century. In the 19th century, many nations wanted to put a foothold down in Jerusalem, and they did that through supporting religious institutions that were affiliated with their countries, which could be the French, who supported the Catholic institutions, and the Russians, who supported the Orthodox institutions. Julie, that's a great question. How are decisions made here? Do all religions work together, agree about running this area? It is a very complex situation. All of the religions who hold Jerusalem as holy, of course, believe that they are premier in their relationship with Jerusalem and in their relationship with God and faith and so forth. So there is real competition between the different religions, and there is also a level of respect, and there is the government overseeing above that to make sure that if there is conflict, that it is worked out in an organized fashion. So it's not clear cut between the different groups, and I'll give you an example. Here I showed you the Swedish Christian Information Center next to the Christian Information Center. The Christian Information Center is a Catholic institution run by the Franciscan Order. The Franciscan Order are appointed by the Vatican to be the protectors of the holy sites to the Catholic religion in Israel. They are a huge order in Israel and present in all of the Catholic churches, the caretakers and administrators. This is the main information center for all of the Catholic churches in Israel. And right next door to that, we have another church that is called the Christ Church. See the sign on that wall, it says the Christ Church Guest Center. Just a second, Joyce, I am spanning over to see the building that is currently the house of the Swedish Christian Study Center. See that? And the Christian Information Center, which is the Franciscan institution. And the next building over is the Christ Church, which is a Protestant institution. And the Christ Church, this is just the outside. Inside the courtyard, you see these gates that are opening now. These gates are not really open to the public. Inside the courtyard, they have a guest house, so their guests are allowed to come through this gate. There is a church, an Anglican church, very beautiful inside the courtyard, and there's a museum and a coffee shop. The coffee shop is closed now. Typically, in normal hours, the coffee shop is the entrance for guests. You walk through the coffee shop into the courtyard. This church was the Protestants first reached the city of Jerusalem in 1840, and for years they worked and lobbied and pressured and until they received permission to build this compound. And it was not a simple deal to get permission from the Ottomans at that time. It's a yellow ambulance that just passed us is a intensive care. Think about getting emergencies, getting people to hospitals through these very narrow streets. Not a simple deed, and that is one of the reasons that the entrance to these streets are severely monitored, and you need special permission to get in. Robin, thank you for letting me know. Sometimes the reception is not that great inside the old city of Jerusalem, and that might affect our video. And please always do let me know. Are there different hospitals for different religions? There are hospitals in Jerusalem that are run by clergy of different religions or by nuns of some different faiths, but most of the hospitals care for people from all different faiths. And there are many government or run hospitals that are also open to people of all faiths. Every time Harkus, my doggy, goes looking for it. All right. Well, you can tell your doggy, Anna, tell your doggy that I am really glad that he or she enjoyed our tour in Jerusalem as well. I am now headed back towards Jaffa Gate. There is so much to see here, so much to tell about. I hope that you join me again in the future. I'll be posting a schedule with some additional tours in the very near future. So please follow my account if you haven't yet. Stephanie, I'm sorry to hear that you fell down. Yes, I'll let you all know. Jen, thank you for that tip. Thank you so much. Ruth, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Anna, everyone who was here, thank you so much for joining this tour. And we'll be doing more. We will definitely be doing more tours here in Jerusalem and elsewhere. Moy, thank you for the tip. Shira, thank you. Thank you. Julie, I am glad that you enjoyed it. I'm glad that you found this interesting. And I love doing this. I love Jerusalem. Sometimes I see people who write posts on social media asking for tips. Some people say, I've been to Jerusalem before, I've seen all of the major places, what else can I see? And I'm so frustrated when I see people write that, because I walk around here in the streets of the old city and the new city of Jerusalem every day, and I never become tired, and I'm always seeing new things, and I'm loving walking around through the city. So my message to you, Amira, thank you so much for that tip. My message to you is that always come back again and again to Jerusalem, even if you see a title and it seems that it's something that you've done before. Julie, thank you. Thank you for the tip. Even if you see a title and you think that it's somewhere that you've seen before, if you have the time, attend the tour anyway, because there's a good chance that you're going to get new information about historical things that you haven't seen before. And I was remarking about, I was commenting about Stephanie's comment. As you can see, the floors around us, the pavement, is all made of Jerusalem stone, as this white limestone, as are all of the buildings around us. They're all constructed of this very hard white limestone that is quarried out of the mountains that Jerusalem sits on. And this is the rock that has been used to build Jerusalem for over 4,000 years. And the pavements can be slippery. They're very beautiful. The sidewalk, it's hard to tell the difference between the sidewalk and the street. It's actually this line here. This line indicates the sidewalk, and this is the street. So when you're walking here, you need to be careful. Shirak, I hope to see you here as well. And you need to be careful when you're walking in the streets of the old city of Jerusalem on this rock limestone pavement, because it can be slippery, and if it's wet, it can be even more slippery. So you always need to make sure that you've got a good footing wherever you're walking. By the way, here we're facing the Ministry of Tourism Information Center, the blue sign across the street. We saw some of the walls. There is a walkway around the walls. On top of the walls, they call it the ramparts walk. It's paid. You need to pay admission to enter, but it's really beautiful. The views that you can see from the top of the walls are totally unique. You won't see them anywhere else. Everyone, thank you. All of you who have followed my user, thank you. Please follow the notices for future tours. I look forward to seeing you. If you, I hope that you got some postcards, some stills of our tour. I hope you got some great ones and that you enjoy them. If you share them to social media, feel free to tag me. I would love to see the stills that you got and the comments that you write on your social media. If you look me up on whatever social media you're using, you'll probably find me. I'm present on most popular social media platforms, aside for TikTok, that I haven't yet connected with, and I don't know if I ever will. But on the other social media platforms, you can surely find me. We are facing south now. We have Jaffa Gate behind us. We're looking at one of the very first neighborhoods that was built outside of the walls of the old city of Jerusalem. It is called Mishkanot Shananim. There is a windmill there, and we'll talk about that more on another tour. For those of you who have been with me since the beginning of this tour, and for those of you who joined later on, we were at the Safra Square at the beginning of the tour on Jaffa Street. We saw that there was a concert that is being prepared at the City Hall Square. It's called Safra Square. They placed about 3,000 seats there. They closed the area with a black fence. And we bought tickets for that concert, Mali and I. So we are on the way over there. When I am done with this live stream, I'm going to find Mali. She is my partner, and we are going to go and attend that concert. So to all of you who have been with me for this hour in Jerusalem, I send you my prayers and blessings from the Holy City and my best wishes, and I look forward to seeing you again and again. Amira, I am really glad that you joined us, and I thank you all, everyone who sent in their appreciation. I appreciate you. If you haven't followed yet, please follow as well. Best wishes to you. Shalom from Jerusalem. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Joannes. I appreciate that. We will meet again. Be well, and shalom to you all.